from that point on, I've been a student of the trade. You know what I mean? Instead of just being a slave to it, I've become a student of it, and that's made everything work out so much better for me. So in life and just everywhere.
Welcome back to All Things Wood Floor, brought to you by Wood Floor Business. I'm Steve Diggins, your host for its Specialty Forest Products. I'd like to thank Kevin Van Beek, the owner of Specialty Forest Products, for building us this beautiful new All Things Wood Floor podcast studio. He is a huge wood floor business supporter. Got to thank him. I have a 500-pound solid 2-inch walnut slab epoxy table, chairs, microphones, sound filters, everything we need to bring this home every time we get a chance to record. Let's jump to it. Today's guest is a guy who embodies the craft right at the street level. Ultimate floor pro, Lorie Davidson. You're going to love this guy. He's tough. He's sharp. He's one of the most instinctive, high-level floor pros you're ever going to meet. He's got stories. He's got experience, and he brings that kind of raw energy that reminds us why we're even in this trade to begin with. Super special stuff. So let's do this without delay. Floor pros around the world, say it with me. Let's get to it. Lorie Davidson, listen, they've said a lot about you. I finally get to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Could you just kick it off? Tell me a little bit about the area that you work in, where you're from. We'll start right there.
I'm originally from Atlanta, moved to North Georgia about 20 years ago to raise my family. And so I still work from Atlanta to North Georgia. I'm in Dahlonega now, but I'd go from Dahlonega to Atlanta, and that's pretty much my area.
Dahlonega, man, of all the places I've heard of in Georgia, Dahlonega was not, it sounds like it's right out of the middle of Ireland.
It's right at the Georgia, it's right where the Appalachian Trail starts. So it's right in the foothills.
No, with all the flooring people that we talk to around the world and everything, what's interesting about you is, if I'm correct, from what I've read on your articles and things online, you come at it from an interior design perspective.
Well, yeah, I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, and I'm 53 now. So, you know what I mean? I've seen every way to do this wrong and every way to approach it. And the best way to approach it is to make sure you eliminate every aspect of issue from the very get-go. You know what I mean? So that's where that mindset came in, is because if you don't think like designers and interior decorators, then there's no way you can translate what they want or what they need, and you'll just keep chasing your tail. You know what I mean? So that's where that mindset came. And that's just over years and years and years of working with people like that.
Isn't it interesting when you get involved with them? They really need you. They couldn't possibly in school study what we know about hardwood flooring, and you know what you physically have to work with to create what you're creating, and they'll throw at you money. And we can do it. And they chose their own state and all these other variables. But you're the guy that has to put the puzzle all together, job after job, right?
Correct. Yeah, and like I said again, it's experience. It's just knowing who you're dealing with and what they're looking for, and being able just to speak their language. So, but it also translates into regular customers too. If you're that thorough with your normal customers as you would be with architects and designers, then you put yourself so far ahead of the rest of the curve that, you know what I mean. It's just it translates down through the entire business. I can't speak high enough about getting your mindset to where you're thinking two steps ahead of the homeowner and two steps ahead of the designer at all, the whole time.
Well, you're
So,
not just a floor guy, you're a major consultant for this. And you tell people this is probably the most expensive and attractive piece of furniture in your entire home
mhm.
before anything else shows up. Go back to the beginning. Like, were you always from the Georgia area? Because that's a hot and humid place to be doing flooring. And two, were you a fry cook? Did you work in a grocery store? When did you go, hey, I'm a floor guy?
N No, I grew up in, like, Section 8 housing in Atlanta, so it was, there really wasn't a whole lot of money coming around, and in school, I was always intelligent, but I couldn't sit still and listen to somebody teach me something, you know what I mean? For some reason, I couldn't do it, so I got into hanging out with some people, and,
Mhm.
we decided that we wanted to, run around, a lot at night. And we had a friend of mine's grandfather who would leave the door open, but the only problem was if he left the door open, you had to get up and go to work. So that was his, he was a genius for doing that, because he'd have three or four guys in the truck in the morning you could pay $50 a day to, and was killing it. But so that's kind of how I got into it. Was started with him at 15, ended up getting out of school at like 17. And then from that point on, that's all I've ever done is hardwood floors. I haven't done anything
Do
else.
you remember your first day where you were actually, not gophering, but they gave you an edger or a buffer behind a big machine or nailing? Did it start with install or would you jump right into finish?
No, like I said, my friend's grandfather was 80, so he was like, if you're not busy on the job, then nobody should have idle time. So I would scrape every single end wall, even on natural jobs, with a 1-inch peanut scrape from Kmart.
That's what I had.
So I would scrape every end wall like that and hand rub every end wall, even when it didn't need it, just because that he didn't want me sitting there doing nothing. So and that's kind of how it all went down. It was just started there, and then as soon as I got on an edger, I was hungover one day. They put me in a closet and they turned it on, and their bag was not tied on correctly, and they broke me in that way. So you know what I mean. But back in the 80s and 90s in Atlanta, it was there was 12 to 13 guys who did wood floors, and that was it. Everybody knew everybody. You know what I mean. So it was the I don't know what you call it. The hazing was a lot back then. So
Sure.
you really had to have thick skin to get into the business back then. But as far as the heat goes, I'm from Georgia my whole life, so the heat doesn't bother us down here. So
Were they running belt sanders, probably drum sanders
oh
back
yeah,
then to
yeah. We
just set the
started on
damn paper?
Lincolns.
Yeah.
Yeah, American Lincolns is what we started on. Then went to the Classic 8, the Clarks that were just monster machines when those guys came out. Then the Altos, and then I found a Hummel, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is a Cadillac." So I've been on Hummels now for probably 20, 22, 23 years.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's pretty
crazy.
much all I've run.
Remember the drum days. So you're in the room, the other guy's in the other room with the drum sander, and you hear tick, 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 tick. What are you
Oh yeah,
hearing? What are you hearing?
oh, yeah.
Tell me.
Pop!
Bang! We were talking about this yesterday with my customers. Drum explodes, it gets sucked up into the machine, the paper shreds all the grit everywhere. Now you got to vacuum for 2 days to get everything off the floor. Then they came out with the belt sander, which no one wanted, and now that's all we have.
Oh, you guys used to vacuum after that? We never vacuumed. We just
Well,
picked up all the pieces and they
yeah,
just kept going. They said the machine's got a vacuum on it. Don't worry about
we
that.
were
So,
it depended on the grip, but you're like, oh great, now I'm gonna be edging and I'm gonna have 60 and I'm gonna pick up the 12 grit. We had crazy grits up here too. They sell you 12,
oh yeah, it's rock and
60.
paper is all it was.
We used to
Yeah.
call it two grit. Two
Yep.
rocks would just pass each other by. Thump, 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 thump. Just
Oh yeah.
terrible
Yeah,
crap.
we would clean floors with kerosene. We would cut the black cutback off with kerosene and then
Oh,
leave all the windows open. You'd be high as a kite and then go in there and crank the machine up. It was so dangerous having sparks and fumes. It was, but that's just the way it was back then. It was go, 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 go.
oh, yeah,
So,
drive to the corner gas station. You get like two hot dogs and a soda for $1.50, and you could feel the chemicals coming out of your lungs. And like, right, it was terrible.
yeah,
So when
terrible days.
so you got started into all that. Did you take a shine into either one? Where you're like, oh, I just like the Santa finish, or were you doing the installs too?
The first time I saw a wood floor, I thought that it had ropes going through it or something, and they just brought it in the house and then squeezed it tight. When I was told that it was board by board, I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in doing much of that.
That's
So
tedious.
I kind of tried to focus mainly on sanding because that's what I was taught from the get-go, and I was pretty good at it, and I was young. I was like 16, 17. I could edge 2,500 foot in a day. You know what I mean? They'd have two big machines, one in front, one in the back, and just me go, 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 go. So,
Nice.
and I was making like 50 bucks a day. So, you know what I mean? That's kind of where they kept me for a while. I would go on install jobs, but I wasn't fast. They would do like back then it was the bundles that were, you get 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Yeah,
1.
we call them unnested. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would make a rack, and then every board down that rack would be a 3-footer. Every board down the next rack would be a 4-footer. You would continue on so the guys could nail up, 2,000 foot in a day. So they would send me in the truck to go pick up wood, and by the time I could get 10 miles down the road, load a truck, get back, they would have every bit of wood that I
Yeah.
had just brought to the house almost installed.
Do you
So,
miss that? I miss unnested because I knew what was there. If I have 7-footers, there's 12 of them there. I put them
well,
aside
I see a better quality floor now because people can't do that where they can't just pick one board and
and
go
ladder
row
it.
by row by row. The stair steps are much better. The staggering's much better with the
It is.
nested bundles.
You know, it helped the industry because as a distributor, everybody returned the aces, piles and piles. And if they were a good
Mhm.
customer, what are you going to say? And they
Yeah.
don't know to start in the room and end with the room and use them up. So I think Armstrong, Bruce first did it. Was put it in a big bundle. When you crack it open, you got to use it. There's no
Yep.
returning it. And it solved a lot of issues. But now you can buy 2 foot to 10 foot, etc. Is that right now? Did you start and begin in Georgia, and that's your territory? Do you move all over the place?
Um, I do. We've done a little. I've done a little bit down. I've done some custom work that we've done down in Florida. I've done some work up in like the Highlands area, Casher, North Carolina, up in the mountains. A lot of the customers that we
Nice.
have will have a second home, so they'll be from like Florida. They'll have a mountain home somewhere. We work on those, so we go all to North Carolina, Murphy a few times. So we're mainly just local. I don't go really far, so I haven't got the invite. The furthest I've been is just to classes, you know what I mean, to stuff like that. So
Was the first 2 decades of your career like mine, where everything's 2.25 strip, and I mean everything was two?
yeah, yeah, I didn't know they made anything different than that until I saw something bigger, and I was like, wow, what is this? This is really cool. But yeah, no, it was probably 10 years before I saw anything besides two and a
It was
quarter.
only a few years ago, as a distributor, they started calling 3.25 strip because it was always called plank. And now they're calling
Mhm.
that strip. And we tried to do everything we could to get out of the strip business. And right now, I have 1/100th of what we used to sell. All we have here is usually for patching and that. All that thin stuff we were laying down, it just took forever. Where do you get your materials? Like, do you just go to your best 2 or 3 distributors, or?
Yeah, we have a local distributor that has several locations. Because I'm in North Georgia, there's not much distribution here, and Atlanta traffic is horrible.
Yes.
But also in Atlanta, we're spoiled. We have, 15 distributors within 40 miles of one another. We literally have on one road within a mile of each other, there's probably six distributors. So distribution in Atlanta is crazy.
I
But
had a building
mainly I
down
deal
there.
with just one in Alpharetta that's probably about 20 miles away from us. It's kind of in between Atlanta and where we're at. So we deal with them.
I opened a place in Macon years ago, and it didn't quite make it. You know why? Because we always sold Select and Better and Clear, and the market was number 2 and 3 common, and a million
Mhm.
feet of flooring at 89 cents, it doesn't turn a profit too quickly. Is there still a lot of character grade stuff, or no?
Yeah, Atlanta is crazy. Mike Summadine, myself, Keith Elliott, a couple other guys charge the what you should be charging for floors. Everybody else, like I got a guy next to me, a guy around me who still will go in, install, sand, and finish a floor for like $8 a foot. So, and that's material, that's everything. That's turnkey out the door. And there's no way I can compete with that at, 14, $15 a foot. So, it's a you have to find your niche in Atlanta for sure, because if not, you'll drive yourself crazy trying to compete with these guys who can just do it so much cheaper than you can for some reason. So,
It
yeah.
happens here too. We don't know why. I can tell you what helped the industry was COVID, because coming out of COVID, guys went from $1.75 a foot to 350 to sand, 350 to install, charge for the wood, may or may not mark the wood up. And I'm thinking it's the same poly, the same wood, the same work we did. I got $1.75. They're getting $9. I would love to get that. But the market's changing up here again. I'm seeing, like you said, $6 to $9 quotes, and I go, not with the wood. And they go, oh yeah, throwing the wood in. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we can get number two right now in Southern Oak for about 89 cents a foot.
There it
So,
is, still
you know
89
what I
cents a
mean?
foot.
So you're buying at that, I guess you're making some money, but you're having to work so much harder to make that wood look good that you don't realize it's costing you, it's costing the contractor more money at the end of the day just to try to make that wood look decent and presentable. But like I said, in Atlanta, you really have to. About 15 years ago, I decided that was not gonna be my market. So I'm gonna give a bid. I'm not gonna get in a bidding war with anybody. This is my price. This is it. But we don't even do any advertising really. We work with a couple other contractors and just word of mouth, and that seems to really be the best thing for us in Georgia where we're at. So,
Sure. Well, back in the 80s up here, when people would talk about staining a floor, it was almost understood by all the guys in the game, like, let's just not offer it. And then I started doing a lot of staining because no one wanted to do it. You're you're an expert in staining. That is your forte. When you approach a stain job, it obviously it doesn't scare you. How do you set it up? Like, you just let them say, "Here's what I'm looking for." Like, what's your rules when you get set up for a project like that?
well, I mean, it starts from the as soon as you walk into the, I mean, as soon as you get to the driveway, you look at their cars, you look at the colors,
Yep.
you walk in the house, you look at the way they're trying to decorate. You can get an idea of what they're kind of going for with their house, because they're not going to get the floors done and
Mhm.
replace all the furniture. So you start there with the furniture. You look at, you kind of look at what if they're looking for something crazy. You got to tell them that, look here, with what you have, this is going to be odd, and if that's what you want, that's what you want. But you
Mhm.
really just from the inception of everything, you
Mhm.
even the way that they talk, you can kind of get an idea of of how they live. You know what I mean? And if somebody lives, if somebody, lives like status type of life where they want, then darker stains and higher gloss finishes and stuff like that are great. But if they don't, then like I said, you're the expert. I'm the expert when I walk in their house. So my job is not only to give them what they want, but it's to help them achieve what they want, even when they don't know already what they want, if that makes any sense.
I read a lot of your stuff online, and you've got like three simple rules when you're choosing elements for staining and design. What are the three rules?
I provide three stain samples for a customer.
Okay.
That's where that my three rule comes in. I've got 100 different rules for staying, but my thing is that I give them three, and then my wording for everything is pick a few. Don't pick a bunch. I need you to pick a few. So you be very direct with your wording. You let the customer know that we're not going to stand a room, do a whole room full of swatches kind of deal. But yeah, that's my rule of three is that I give three samples, and usually, like you said, most of the time, and 90% of the time, I can nail whatever they're looking for in those three samples just by the other rules that I follow, like from inception throughout the job. So but like I said, the article explains all of that about how I do all that, but it's just there's just a lot of different variables, and you know, but my rule of three is that they get three stain samples and that's it. So, if they want more, we'll eventually go to more. But, I find it a challenge every day when I do it that, I can nail this in three colors or less.
Well, for folks that are going to be listening online, we got to go to Wood Floor Business Magazine to see the things that you've written and then what we're talking about. Here's something kind of new that I didn't do until recently, and this might be your thing. When you're doing the three stain samples, do you do what we used to do? It you make them, and here's a board, and show it to them, or do you just put it? Now they're doing it right on the floor,
Yeah.
pre-sand coat. Is that how you do it?
Everything is on the floor. Everything is on the floor. Everything is in a lighted area. If they have any type of woodwork already in the house, cabinets or whatever, I try to get it there. But yeah, definitely inside the house. In Georgia, we have what Lenny Hall likes to call swamp oak. So, it's every floor is different. Every floor stains different. I can do a floor, down the block and down this block the same exact color, and they won't even look the same.
Nope.
So everything here is done unless it's a custom job where we're doing like an engineered or something like that, a slice face engineered. Then we'll do samples and bring them into the job, and we'll use like a Kelvin light when we're doing stuff like that to mimic the lighting of the new construction house to what they're going to have in the house. That's another big thing. But yeah, we do everything inside the house in front of the customer with the customer. I need them there in order to, you know what I mean, to gauge what's going on. You have to look at their face, you have to look at their body language, you have to look
Yes.
at everything to see where they're going. And by the time you put down that first sample, you pretty much know where they're going. So, and if you can't get it by the second sample, then you just need to read a couple books on body language because their bodies will tell you everything you need to know about what's going on.
Oh, Laura, you said it. There's usually two people in the room, and you got to watch them both because one will
Yeah.
say this is it, and the other one will go, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yep.
You think they? I know People will say, "That's not rocket science." We know when you say, "I'm going to sand coat your floor," and they go, "Oh, I've mixed three stains in my garage. I really like them, and I got a Cabot and a Bears and a whatever." You and I
Uh-huh.
both know the chemistry is. There's chemistry and science involved here, especially if you don't want your floor's got to look good, can't change color, and you don't want it to peel. You got that all locked down, right? You've got
Mhm.
to keep it for them. Do you ever let them mess with your chemistry? Because they always want to give stuff.
No, from when we send the initial estimate, it gives the options that they have. We have like we use some Duracell stains. We have Duracell.com. You can go there for any questions that you need. If they want to start telling me, my job, then at that point they're not my customer. They're somebody else's customer. So that's where we're at with that.
Hey, Wood Floor Pros, this is Kim Walgren, the longtime editor of Wood Floor Business. Do you know a wood floor contractor who is extraordinary and deserves to be recognized? Or maybe that's you. Put a nomination in for the Wood Floor Business Ultimate Wood Floor Guy and Gal Contest. You can nominate yourself, a loved one, a colleague, or a friend. We will profile the winners in the magazine later this year, and they'll win prizes from our contest sponsors. You can find the entry link in the show notes for this episode. Now let's get back to Steven's conversation with another extraordinary wood floor pro, Lorie Davidson.
You mentioned lighting, okay? Our samples downstairs don't look like the ones upstairs, and it doesn't look like the ones upstairs when the windows are open. It doesn't look the same when it's winter. Doesn't look, sunlight. We used to say ultraviolet light, but light, any form of light, not only has an effect on what it looks like, but how it looks throughout the day. Floor at 8 in the morning doesn't look like a floor at noon. And when people pick these heavy browns, I go, after the sun goes down, you just get a giant sheet of brown in your house, unless you got some really good looking lighting. It's tricky,
Mhm.
isn't it? Sunlight.
It is, but there again, if you know the Kelvin scale, which is the lighting scale from soft light to bright light, then you can get a bulb that literally costs $15. Any hardware store has them, and you can go room to room with your bulb, and you can adjust it to the lighting of the room next to it. If you know, because you can get a Kelvin meter that'll tell you the scale. If you get those two things, probably you're in for $150. It will save you thousands of dollars in resands and recoats because the customer thought they were right when in fact they weren't right. You just didn't have the equipment to show the customer that they were wrong. So that's, what I mean? That's why those two things are, I can't tell you how many jobs in 30 years that we've had that exact same thing. Oh, it looks different over in this room. It looks different in that room. It looks different over here than it does over here. And you look at the bulbs and they've got soft white and one light, and then they've got, these can lights that are halogens in the other room. And you're like, well, that's the problem right there. Then once you show them that, like a light bulb goes off inside their head and they really feel instead of being hostile or mad, they kind of feel silly. You know what I mean? That they even questioned what you were doing. So
Oh, absolutely. It makes the floors look different. When you're working with staining and lighting and all these things, does species come into play? Does that start messing things up? Like, because they're hard to, you can't stain a hickory or a maple, but people think pine. Well, it's soft. It's going to be a breeze, but it's not even porous.
I mean, I pride myself in being a not expert, but a dye enthusiast. So I've been water dyeing floors and water popping floors. About, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years ago, somebody installed American cherry next to maple. And it was in a kitchen. It was a big job. They weren't willing to rip it out. They were like, you just have to do something to fix it. So I made the American cherry or the maple look like the American cherry, where they couldn't even tell that there was a transition. And all of that was done using dyes and stuff. So species really ain't an issue. You just have to know the tricks to using it. I'm going to put together an article, I guess, about the using de-wax shellac and denatured alcohol to condition pine floors.
Sure.
So you can do it at a fraction of the cost of conditioner, way faster, and it does the exact same effect. But nobody seems to know about it. I learned it from a cabinet guy, but nobody seems to know about it. But it works great on wood floors.
I learned it like you did. I made a pencil post bed and some set of stairs out of yellow birch, and they wanted it to look like cherry. So I called the factory that did it. They sent me an aniline dye. I said, "What are you
Mhm.
doing?" They based the dye to make it uniform, then use our stain, then
Mhm.
coat it. And I started doing it on floor projects. A little tricky, but man, aniline
Mhm.
dyes work great for things like maple or hickory, etc. The
Mhm.
chemistry there too. I could talk to 100 guys that wouldn't know what you're talking about, but makes a
Yeah,
big
and the
difference.
thing is those guys have probably been doing floors for 20 years. You know what I mean? So, but that's where I was at. And when my first career started, I was, like I said, I was the guy that they would put a big machine in front of, a big machine behind of, and say, go, 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 go. So, and I didn't actually go to my first class until Wayne Lee reached out to me, maybe 10 years ago, and said, "Hey man, I'd like to get to meet you. You want to go to a class?" And I was like, "Well, why would you be reaching out to me to get me to go to a class?" I was all hostile, and you know what I mean. Although I'd heard of Wayne in magazines and stuff, I was like, "What's this guy's deal?" You know what I mean? But
Right.
I went, and from that point on, my love. I mean, I was almost a Stockholm syndrome floor guy for
Right.
years and years and years because it just beat me up so much that I learned to love it. You know what I mean? But once Wayne introduced my eyes to education, to doing things differently and better, from there on, it just renewed my career. So I can't say enough good things about that guy. He's one of the best people I've ever met in the industry. But he turned it around for me, and from that point on, I've been a student of the trade. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Instead of just being a slave to it, I've become a student of it, and that's made everything work out so much better for me. So in life and just everywhere.
I hear you. I took a year break and got back in because I love it, miss it, but I don't want to totally be in sales and operations. I want to teach. So we had Daniel Boone here for 2 days. We're going to have a bonus certification. Put this whole building together just so people in the Northeast can get training, because typically kind of fly all over the country or fly people in. You're right. You mentioned those peer of people that are out there. They're starting to diminish. I've got a friend of mine. He knows more about flooring than anybody. He's 87. He's um, in a assisted living facility. We still talk about flooring and everything. It becomes part of your life, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It consumes you. I mean, my wife, God bless her. We've been married for, we got married as kids, but she's been through so much in this business, just, you know what I mean? Because I mean, back in the day, we'd go sand 1,000 feet and then go final coat 1,500 feet in the same day. You know what I mean? The floors didn't look good, but they were done.
But they were
So
done.
when it was all builder work and it was 7 days a week. As a young, hungry guy, when you got a bunch of kids, I have 3 kids, so I just, I overworked myself for a lot of years in this business. But it does become a part of your blood after a while. So and it's a beautiful trade. I mean, there's not a lot of people who get to go to work and create and do. I mean, artists do, but they don't get to go to the person who buying their art and say, oh, what do you want me to do, how do you want me to make this work, you know what I mean? So really a floor guy in the world of art is, I mean, up there at the very top.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you. How long you been married?
uh 30, man, she's gonna kill me. 94, so 32 years. So
Yeah,
yeah.
85. So yeah, it goes fast.
Yeah. Yeah, we grew up together. So yeah, had kids and grew up together. We
See,
all did.
that's
So
hey, they say that the when you ask married couples the longest, what's the number one thing, they go, oh, I married my best friend.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
tricky.
yeah. Yeah, we're great. Like I said, ups and downs, but I mean, I wouldn't do it with anybody else. So,
You get people that when they're listen, you do a lot of flooring. They're not all staining, but a lot of people like stain. Did they first come in and meet you and bring in cabinets and door trim and pieces of wood and things?
I mean, not usually. Some customers will already have an idea. Mostly it's Pinterest. I hate Pinterest. I wish that was never
I know,
invented.
I know,
It's
I
the
know.
worst site for floor people. I mean, just stick to Instagram and go to other floor guy stuff. But this Pinterest stuff where, oh my God, I was in the kitchen last night and I mixed 15 different colors to make this one color that is an already color that's already available. You know what I mean? But they're determined that you mix these 15 colors together. Like I said, those customers aren't my customers. My well-being, personal well-being and health
Sure.
well-being, I can't deal with customers like that. So money is not,
Mm,
you know what I mean? That's, I don't need, I need my health more than I need the money. And those people, they want to start the job like that. By the end of the job, you'll have pulling your hair out.
Well, the
So
Minwax people did the work for us. We have the answers
they
to the
did.
test. And
Mhm.
remember what happened was Bona has those colors and Duracell is the division of Minwax. Originally, when they pioneered them, they didn't copyright or patent them. So everybody can have a gun stock, everybody can have a provincial. When I was a kid, you got Golden Oak and Early American. That was it. You can look at a floor today and go, I know how old it is. That's Golden Oak or Early American. A few years
Mhm.
later, they threw in Puritan Pine. So when you're doing all this and you're not matching those things, do you go out to the field? They don't. Do you have a showroom? Do they have to come to your showroom?
Oh,
Or
no, no,
just
no. We are very small. It's just
good for
me and my
you.
sons work together. We're a very small company. We don't have showrooms. We don't really advertise. Like I said, we just kind of, I guess, fly by the seat of our pants here at the moment. But
Mm.
we stay busy. So I don't. If I get more people and get a showroom and I'm not on the job, then there's no way you can control. You know what I mean? And there again, that leads to headaches for me. And I'm more comfortable just being on the job, working, and just than I am letting other people go do it and dealing with that stress. I don't handle stress well, so this is the best way for me. When I retire, I'll just walk away and go do coats in a little pickup truck or something, and my kids can have at it. So
Isn't it funny? There's some things that I know I'm not patient about, but doing a floor, I am. I could
mhm.
sand day after day, hour after, not even take a water break. Other things I wouldn't have the patience for. It's just something about the process that drags you in.
Mhm. Like I said, Stockholm syndrome. You do it long enough, that will literally be you'll go through all the phases. You'll be so mad that you're there. You'll hate it. You'll hate yourself. You'll hate everything. But you need the money. You know what I mean. And then next thing you know, you're starting to like it. And then you start to get educated. Then you really start to like it. And then you start to meet people. Then you start to love it. And there's just not many trades that I don't know any trades that you can get into that's kind of the path that you go through.
How do you help your client visualize the project and where does it start? Do they go, hey, we'd kind of like it not natural. We want to make it a stain, and then you go, here we go. But you're the expert at that. How
Yeah.
do you open up that can of worms?
Well, I don't like I said in the article too. I learned to be quiet.
Sure.
You know what I mean? The more you can be quiet, and the more you can let them try to explain without, because as soon as they're explaining something and you give your 2 cents, then their whole brain gets switched to a whole different stream. It's like a tree. You know what I mean? One branch comes here, and you keep going up, and then you say something else. Another branch goes over here. You keep going up. Another branch goes over there. And by the time you know it, you've got all these branches and all these leaves, and this customer's like, I don't know what in the world is going on. So the biggest thing I learned to do is just to be quiet. Like I said, if you do all your homework from the time you get there to meet these people, to talk about, because colors are colors. They're either going to want brown, black. Sometimes you get the guys that are like, oh, I want it to look kind of beachy or this or that. Well, Bona has a design kit already made that has beachy designs in it. So if you do the research and you do the work and you get with your reps, most of these companies already have all the stuff laid out. So from the inception, you just give them that. Or when I first go to a job, I'll give them a stain swatch and I'll be like, pick 3 colors, let me know. And then if I know that they said they wanted beachy, but yet they're choosing gunstock, I'm going to be like, hey, dude, let's look for something that's not orange, because gunstock, unless you're beaching in New Hampshire and in the Amish country, that's not going to look good. So, but yeah, I don't, I usually don't steer them anyway until I see that their mind is clicked for what I put on the floor. And once I see that, that's when I know how to steer them. And there again, that's all body language. It's, you look at how they're reacting, you look at what they're doing, but yeah, the best way to do that is just to be quiet. So don't help at all. So
Yeah.
literally don't help at all.
Right.
Just let them work it out in their head, and by the time they're done talking, usually you can get an idea of what they want.
Yeah. Somebody told me you got 2 ears and one mouth. Shut your mouth and listen. They'll
Yeah.
tell you enough. Let me ask you. I wasn't going to throw this in, but technically, I always forget to think that we have a lot of pros like you, guys that are around the world. They know their stuff, and you love to listen to them talk. But I get a lot of people that will call or come in my office and they're new people, and they'll go,
Mhm.
"Wow, I'm learning a lot, but I don't know what they're talking about." Walk me through this. Let's say you get a 2,000 foot job. It's just 3 1/4 red oak. It's installed. You're going to sand and finish it. Just walk me through your grit pattern up to your stain and how the stain goes down, and the rest we can walk through. But what's your recipe there? How would you handle that?
Usually on a job, we will come in, we will do our initial cut with the big machine. Depending on the condition of the floor, it can go anywhere from 40 grit to 60 grit, depending on what the floor needs. We never start every floor at the same grit, because there's if you tear into this floor with 36 grit or 40 grit and it only needed 60 or 50 grit, then you've taken 2 sands off this floor. So
Correct.
but first we let the floor dictate how we do that. And then from there, we edge the floor. We use the floor lord pads, so we don't do a lot of removal with shoe molding and stuff anymore.
Sure.
We go right to that and don't really damage anything. It's great.
Nice.
Then we come in and we slick, but when we do our initial cut, we'll do like a 10-degree angle, 15-degree angle usually,
Sure.
if it's not bad. And there again, the more warped the floor is, the bigger the angle becomes.
Sure.
Once we do that, and we just start straightening everything out, and we move up. If we start with a 60 grit, we'll move to an 80 grit. We'll straighten everything in the floor out. And then we only edge once these days, because with the Festool and the planetary systems, you really just got to get it. You
That
just got to get the finish off. You know what I mean?
I'm so
Everything
jealous.
else doesn't work.
It
Yeah,
is.
and then we go to planetary machines, and then we'll do we do all kind of crazy stuff with planetary machines. We'll do 80, 100 mixes. Some people think, oh, there's no reason to do that, but I can tell the scratch is different if I use 80 and 100, or if I use 100 and 120. You know what I mean? I get a little more bite with a little more scratch stuff. So the planetary machines are it changed the entire
Oh,
game
red
there.
oak or white oak, maple or hickory, all the scratches are different. Like you said, do you bring in your light there and get a look at what's going
Oh
on?
yeah,
I
yeah.
figured
Everything
you
is,
would.
yeah. We look at we fill the floor and look at lights all throughout. If you do a wall or you do a room, you stop. You don't keep going. You stop and fill the room to make sure that everything is correct, everything is right. Your biggest your biggest tell-alls are these right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A light and
hands.
these right here. I mean, if you can feel it, you can see it. You know what I mean? So usually, if you can feel a hump or you can feel a wave or anything else, then you know that it's not right. You mark it and you take it out, and good to go.
When you
Mhm.
finally are padding out for your stain, how smooth are you getting it?
We take everything to 120. It's about where we stop. We want open grain. We want wood that's accessible to penetrate. Gets a penetrating stain that we're putting on the floor, so we want it to be able to penetrate. If you slick a floor up like you're doing a final coat, then it's just sitting on top. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So no matter if you use if you use traffic or any of these other high dollar finishes, it doesn't matter what you use because you're going to have a white scratch because the stains aren't deep enough. So no, we go to 120 most of the time. We water pop. We'll do 50% water, 50% denatured alcohol. Because I'm also a controlled pop guy. That's a whole different thing. We could have a whole nother conversation about.
You're getting there. You're
But
getting there.
I've done controlled pops, and like I do a lot of repairs for companies who can't fix what they messed up. So I'll go in, and instead of them having to redo an entire job, they'll pay me some money. I'll go in, fix the floor. They'll pay me very well to do it, and then I'll leave. But I've done that for several different companies in Atlanta just this year. But it's like I said, controlled water pop. If you know your colors and you know that color wheel and you know that stain, then you know exactly how much you need to get that wood ready for whatever you got. But like I said, it's just doing it for so long that
I
you
like
just
what you're
learn.
putting down. For those that
Yeah.
don't know, when water popping, which we preached for years, and then alcohol pop is what the furniture industry does. And putting a blend like that is a really good idea. It speeds up the dry process. It kind of lets it pop, but not go too far. What we found once we finally were able to convince people to pop, now they're getting peeled back, and some of the grain will lift, and they'll hit it with a buffer. You got to watch out for that stuff and be a little more careful when you're popping. But it's what
Mhm.
makes everything uniform if you're not going to aniline dye. You said your rotary machine, right?
Mhm.
I'd still say, as of yet, you don't do a whole floor with a rotary machine. I've seen guys go in, start right from the first grit, and they're healing on that $10,000 machine all day. You got to put the big machine in there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's no replacement for a big machine. Guys can say what they want. Even the new i4s, which is an amazing machine,
Yep,
cuts really hard and aggressive.
the hydro grind.
I could cut a floor 3 times as fast. And at the end of the day, time is money. And also, with that planetary machine, you're just burnishing and burnishing and burnishing and burnishing and burnishing. With that paper, you're actually getting the grain to lift up, to be presentable, to be set back down in a way that you want it to be set back down. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
but there again, I don't know a lot of the science behind a lot of the planetary machines. I just, I'm kind of like that guy in Tropic Thunder. I only know the sound it makes when it kills a man.
Yeah.
I only know what it does when I use it, but I don't know how it actually does what it does. You know what I mean?
No, but
So, but I
you
do
got
love
it.
them. But they're not a crutch, and a lot of guys think they're a crutch. And a lot of guys are 60 in and then going right to the planetary machine, which is fine. But I can do a much better floor, a much faster floor if I just do 2 cuts, planetary machines, and go from that
You
route.
ask any manufacturer to this day, and they come up with beautiful machines. Ask them, all right, just answer me the question. Can I get rid of my big machine? No. Because they have a
Yeah.
$10,000 sander they want to sell you, plus a $10,000 rotary machine, which is great. But like you're saying,
Mhm.
you can't burnish off the wood and polish it off like that, or you're just asking for trouble. That's so good. Yeah, you're right. We could get into the whole water popping into the weeds, etc. We'll switch gears a little bit. I saw your rhombus project.
Mhm.
How did that pop up? Where'd you come up with that one? It's kind of intricate floors can be a little creepy and a little tacky. That one
Yeah.
looks super cool.
Yeah, we at that point in time, Dave was doing the soldier borders and stuff, and I'd never seen that. Mickey White did a rhombus floor that I'd never quite seen in that grain pattern with the oak and stuff, with the white oak, and I just kind of, I stole it from a bunch of different people. And then my wife was, we had to get my wife collects dogs, so we have, a house full of dogs, and
So do
one
we.
of them had an accident on the carpet, so we had to get rid of the carpet. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to put some, some white oak in there and just be done with it. And she was like, being a smart ass, she was like, well, you are a floor guy, right? You could do something better than just put some 2 1/4 oak down in there, right? And I was like, well, yeah, I bet I could. So we got to thinking, and then 100 hours later, so me and both my sons were exhausted with this thing, but it turned out pretty good. We were really happy with how it turned out. So.
Yeah, if people go to Wood Floor Business, the photos are really cool. I like those geometric things. What'd you do? You set up some crosshairs, start in the center, work out in quarters.
Well, I started by calling Lenny Hall,
Yeah, that's a good
and
idea.
then he confused me with all of his numbers jumbo.
He's a
So you
line
know what I
guy.
mean?
He's
Yeah.
really got
So
his
I finally
math
got
down.
somebody to tell me that look, you set up a jig at 60-degree angle, and you cut every piece at 60-degree angle. Then whatever size the wood is you're using, that's how wide the board's got to be. And once somebody put it in layman's terms and not 50, 60 degree over 40 and 90 and 60 and 30. Once they put it in layman's terms, I was able to get it done. But yeah, that's pretty much how I did. I'd never tried anything like that, so we just set up a jig and just got to cutting. But it took about 60 hours to cut it and about 40 hours to install it. So
Wow. What did you
yeah, it was a lot.
what did you cut it all out of? Is
It
each
was
piece of
it,
rhombus you made?
it was just 2 1/4. I had a bunch of 2 1/4 select left over from a job that had some quarter saw and some rift in it. and we just started cutting it up so into pieces, and then we laid the inside first, and then I was looking at some of Dave Rizalek's work, and the soldier borders looked really cool, and I thought it wouldn't be that busy. So, like I said, we just thin piece of walnut, soldier border, and called it a day.
Give me that. Like a lot of people in the country use different terminology. What's a soldier border?
It's where you put a bunch of small end pieces around a border. You know what I mean? Instead of laying them long ways, like your borders here, instead of laying them long ways and bordering it, you just put a bunch of short pieces
Oh,
in
okay.
your border all the way around. So, and it makes a really cool effect, especially with the raw small rhombus. It made a really cool effect. So,
It, does it always start? There's always a wife. So Tom Arata got like a floor of the year thing for his deer that he did. And when I was talking to
yeah.
him, he said he wanted to put a floor in, and his wife goes, "We have trees." He literally had to go out, cut the trees, make the floor, put the whole thing in. Every
And
time
he's
I did,
still going around cutting trees, but he's still
yes.
keeping steady now. That started the whole thing for him. So she was right. So
Well, it's funny because I was talking to him after our podcast, and he's like, "The darndest thing was when I was trying to nail it down, the sap was coming through." And I go, "What sap?" And he goes, "Oh, I just cut this wood off my property." He said, "Ever since then has been a journey on moving from artistry to being an actual floor person and kiln
yeah.
dried flooring and the whole process." And yeah, it's
You know,
cool.
Tom's a genius, really nice guy too, but he is a genius when it comes to the stuff he does. It's amazing.
When you did the rhombus, was it right up to walls, or did you have to transition to carpet, tile, vinyl, anything?
Yeah, there's one door. It's a hallway in my home, so there's a bedroom that's got wood, and then there's two bedrooms that have carpet, and then there's one bedroom that have tile. So we just made everything, up to that. Took a router and kneeled off the edges of the boards, and then just kicked the carpet to that. So, but yeah, like I said, as long as I've been doing it, I can kick carpet with the best of them.
Oh yeah, so you kicked carpet too.
Well, I didn't kick carpet, but I've had to fix a lot
You've
of
had to
carpets.
fix. Oh yeah,
It's
okay.
messed up. You pull something loose, it's got a wrinkle in it. So I bought a carpet kicker a long time ago, and we use it a lot. So
Do you do a lot of geometrics like that, or it was just your house?
no, yeah, something like that. The price would be so much that it's really hard to find that customer. Mike does a good job of finding those customers down towards Atlanta, but Atlanta's just a weird market where people, they're just now getting into wide plank floors the last probably 4 or 5 years.
Right.
So up until then, it's been all 2 1/4. So there's probably 80% of Atlanta is 2 1/4. So we're just now getting, so we're always a little bit behind people. And like I said, the money, if, I would have had to charge probably a lot. I mean, like I said, I probably would have had to charge 50, 60 grand for that project. So just because of the time and hours, and I don't see anybody paying that for a hallway. And so,
Maybe your wife can give you a check.
well, she does every day she stays with me. So
Exactly right. She's paying anyway.
I'm a pretty tough guy to be around sometimes.
How'd
So
you wrap that up? What was the stand and fin? What was the coating on? Did you stain it, Lorie? Did you
yeah,
stain?
no, we just we did raw. That's actually bone raw on top of that floor. So
That
we
stuff's
stained,
cool.
we've probably got a 50% rate right now where most of our jobs are going bone raw.
This new series of finishes, whether it's Loba or
Mhm.
Boner or Game Time or whoever, are super impressive.
Oh yeah.
I've walked out of rooms with a 2 foot roller going, "This is going to be a disaster." And as I'm loading the truck, I'm looking back going, "This stuff's amazing. It's pulling tight on its own, not just
Yeah.
flashing out."
Yeah, just don't watch it dry. James Toll always says, "Don't watch it
Don't,
finish dry."
don't
But I
watch
tell
it
you,
dry.
that stuff will scare you to death if you start watching that stuff dry, because it'll have you thinking you messed everything up. But just close your eyes and go. So
Do you get, are you, since you're like the stain expert, does everything have to be stained, or you go, "Oh, thank God today we just got a sealing coat"?
no, we don't. Like I said, we charge accordingly, so it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's staining is it's challenging, so I don't mind it that much. It's the repair stuff that I really enjoy. That's like, you know what I mean? If you can come into a job and they're like, "Oh yeah, the insurance agent said that they're gonna have to do the whole thing." So we just had a job where there was a raw job, a custom mill job. We found the wood that kind of matched it. Then we dyed the floor. We pre-dyed it, and then it was a bone raw floor, but it had yellowed a little bit, and the wood was this odd color. So we dyed it with white, dyed it with yellow, and then put finish on top of it. You couldn't even tell. So the insurance people are just like, "Oh my god, I never thought that you'd be able to do that." So that reaction is what I like the most about the staining and the finishing, is trying to make people go, "Wow, I didn't think you could do that." So
What's your company look like? How many people you got?
just me and my sons.
Good for
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
just very small. I've heard people say that when you get bigger, you get more headache. For us, I mean, my son might think differently, but for me, money is like it's if I do what I love, if I can provide for my family, if my grandkids and my kids are okay, then life is a success. You know what I mean? So if he wants to, I'm trying to get him to be that industrious person to get bigger. But I also hear people say when you get bigger, you get more stress. You're running around chasing your tail, and I'm just not into living like that. So at this point in my life, I'm really comfortable with where I'm at. So, but that some people might say that's a fault that you're, not wanting to be ambitious or anything like that. But I know me at this point in my life because I'm 53 years old, and I know that this makes me happy every day, and I don't get burnt out, and I make plenty of money, and everybody's happy. So, it's a win-win for me.
See, this is what puts you in the win column, Laura. You're paying attention because I can tell you, at one point I had 22 guys on a project. It just no. And then down the line we would use subs, and then it got to be me and two guys. It was great, and they'd bring somebody as a helper. It was great. Everybody says that. It's absolutely true. There's just too much going on. If you're trying to run a production hardwood flooring company, it takes the intimacy away from it. You're just pounding stuff out like big builder work. I don't like that. I like doing people's individual homes and things like that. Look, because you're a craftsman, you play chemist, you play artist, all this. You can't do that just grinding out floors every day. It's not worth it. Do you think?
No, no, it's absolutely not worth it. I mean, it's really hard to like. I'm not good at paperwork, like you were talking about a little while ago with patience. I can do the most tedious thing on the floor. I get home and get on this computer and I want to throw it through a wall after 5 minutes. But, as far as staying small, we can do more jobs because we network with people who we've known for 20 years in the area. Like there's guys that I've worked with for over 20, 25 years who own their own companies. They'll help us come in and do projects. And I think that's the most important thing for anybody in any area is to not treat people like they're your competition, but to get to know people and have relationships with people and actually like, help one another because you never know when you're going to be dead in the water either. If you're just trying to be this big company and swallow everything up and do everything, then, I mean, it's hard to build those connections and those relationships, but staying small, if I could have a project coming up this week where we'll have to bring in another couple crews to help us out, and get it done. So, and, it'd be great because we'll get to network. I get to see these guys and I know they do the exact same quality work that we do. So it all works out for everybody. So everybody wins in the end.
You're right. I'm a distributor here in this area, but over 30 years, the guys that worked with me, one runs the distributorship up the street. My buddy Dave runs Seacoast Floor Supply. He runs two divisions, and you would think we're all kicking the tar out of each other. We really respect each other greatly, and we try to collaborate, and we realize there's enough flooring as a distributor in this area for all of us. There's enough for every flooring contractor. We so enjoy talking with each other, sharing stuff. It's not competitive. We're absorbing that advanced knowledge that we always were looking for. And you just said it, collaborating. How often do you get to bounce these collaborations off your peers?
I mean, a pretty good bit. There's a guy that we still do work with now, Dan Zimmerman. He's helped me see that you can run a business without exploiting people or you know what I mean, keeping people under your thumb. You can actually want people to be better for themselves. I work with him a lot and it's nice to be able to have that second opinion. Also like Boone, like I would, when I first met Boone, I was like, oh my God, can I get your number? He was like, sure. And I would call that guy literally, once every other week. You know what I mean? Hey man, I've never seen this. What's the problem? What's the problem? I felt like I was bothering the guy, but every single time he would answer my phone, he would be so nice. So, like, we run a Facebook group, and it's been so beneficial to hear what other people have to say. That's it's not a smart comment, but like actual knowledge that people have that are willing to give you. And without collaborating with other people, there's no way you'll ever learn that knowledge because you won't know it exists. So, I mean, to people who want to stay in their own little world in their own little circle, I mean, that's fine, but that you'll never truly be 100% confident in this business. And confidence in this business translates into peace in this business because if you're confident and you know what you're doing and you're not worried about it, you're not going to mess anything up. You're going to do everything by the book. You're going to be covered at every single step you take. And it just makes the whole thing just that much better.
I set up a place in Jacksonville, a wholesale place in Jacksonville, and I met Daniel Boone. I told everybody I know Daniel Boone. Well, recently I met Daniel Boone. I'm like, you're not Daniel Boone. He goes, y'all met my father. Like I worked with his father down there. I didn't know that. But when you think about Daniel, we go back to old magazine articles. I could see him and we just got together for the first time. He's so no nonsense 24/7 flooring. Like when we did the
Mhm.
podcast, he goes, "Let me see y'all script. Take a look at this. I don't waste time." He goes, "Looks good. Looks good, son. Let's go." I'm like, "Okay, don't mess
Yeah, it's
around."
either by the book or it's not going to go on.
He ran a
Yep.
great seminar because you could invite 300
Mhm.
people here and you'd get five, right? I set up a classroom. I ripped all my podcast cast stuff out, gave him a classroom, air conditioning, we had food together, everything. Built him these huge platforms, and it was a lot of fun. People appreciated it, and he was. We are not messing around. This is serious, and you're going to learn something before you leave here. And it was so much fun. That I could do for the rest of my career and beyond. And working with guys like you, people should know that when you go to Wood Floor Business, read your articles, etc. But give me more because you have website and you tell me about the website that you work with.
Yeah, well, it's a Facebook group. It's the Real Masters of Hardwood Flooring. We started about, I don't know, 10 years ago, and we got really big really fast, and then purged the entire group because everybody was there. There was bad information, there was wrong information. So we decided to take a different approach to it. So we purged the group, kept who was beneficial, and then now we only let in people who are vetted. And by doing that, it's because, like I said, there's a lot of Facebook groups out there. There's a lot of really bad information on some of these Facebook groups, really, really bad. And if you're young, and if you're taking this information and you say, "Oh, this guy, he teaches people and he shows this and he shows that," if they're not following a manufacturer's guideline as to how they're doing what they're doing, then they're doing it incorrectly. So no matter what advice they give you is going to be wrong.
Correct.
So we tried to start a group where we could actually bounce ideas off of each other, like you said, collaboration. So we started the Real Masters about 10 years ago, and it's been really good. I've had a lot of people from across the country that I've met that I would never known before, but it's information based. It's not you clowning around, it's not jokes, it's not trolls. It's just, I've got this problem. I need this solution, and that's the whole basis of it. So it's problems and solutions and networking, and you know. So, but yeah, that's it. I get a lot of help with that. I've got 4 administrators that they'll do a lot of work on that too. So, yeah, it's good. But there again, it's all about collaboration and it's all about lifting each other up. If I can make the guy next to me better, he can charge more. I can charge more. You know what I mean? It's all about making everything better instead of just gatekeeping, not letting people have the secrets that you know.
Do you have a link that we could send people to?
It's the real masters of hardwood floors, what it's called. There's a couple questions that you'll have to answer to get into the group, and
Essay
that's
on
another
this?
thing.
Any math? This is just pretty. We're good.
It's Facebook group. It's just Facebook, the real masters of
I think you
hardwood
should make
floors.
people write an essay. Why I love
Well,
flooring.
I mean, believe me, if it was up to Mike or somebody who's one of my people would be writing, they'd be writing a 5-page essay, you know what I mean, and
That
giving
is
blood
great.
samples if they wanted to get in the group. But
I love it.
but no, all you gotta do is answer a couple simple questions. Just take the time to make an effort, because I mean, we get thousands of people who we've had to turn away because they just don't even bother to. If you're not going to make the effort to answer questions, then you're not going to make an effort in the group. You're just going to be a ghost sitting in the shadow with no value. So, and that's not the group is for people who want to be better and want to communicate and want to show off. We do a floor of the month thing every month where we have a new cover, and some of the floors that you see these guys doing are just, it blows my mind the talent that we have all across the country, but in the world too. Fino, they just do some amazing work.
Oh,
So
geez, yeah, Susie and Fino.
yeah.
All right, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to some speed round questions for you, and we'll wrap everything up. Cause see how fast that went? It's been crazy.
Yeah, pretty quick.
All right, I'm gonna ask you some questions, and we rifle through these. You've listened before, you know that we never get this right, but I know you'll crush this one. All right, starting off, Lorie Davidson. What's your favorite tool as a floor guy?
The Hummel is probably my favorite tool.
Machine.
That and anything Festool makes, but that's a whole different
How about hand
rabbit
tool?
hole. Hand tool scrape. I love the scrapes.
Absolutely. Um, at this point, any particular finish that you prefer? What's your favorite
Yeah,
combination?
we haven't used oil-based products in probably 5 years. So everything's water. My kids' health, my health, the people whose home I'm putting it in, everybody's health is, I mean, beneficial. So Green Guard all the way.
Is there a dream project? Is there something you really like to get done in flooring?
Yeah, I'd like to do some of the projects they do, like in DC, just some stuff like Rosebud used to do, Purser used to do here out of
Personally.
Atlanta, just some of those historical cool stuff. I've done repairs and a lot of restoration work on olive and olive jobs, and just the old school the old school quality is just, it blows my mind. So to be able to work on it and touch it and bring it back to life that's really, I love that.
Do you throw earbuds on or anything? Get any music going when you're
Oh yeah,
working?
yeah,
What
yeah.
do
I'm
you? What's your
listening to
jam here? What do you got?
well, I'm all over the place, dude. I'm everywhere from Tyler Childers, whose hat I got on.
Yep.
I'm into Michael Jackson. I'm into the Deftones. I mean, I was a drummer for a lot of years, so I'm into everything and anything, depending on what mood I'm in. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hear you. Is there a particular species of wood you can't live without? Like that. That's if they made something for you, you go, I'd really like it made out of.
I mean, it's really hard to beat Select White Oak. It's just so beautiful. So really do like it.
If you weren't a hardwood flooring person, where do you think you were headed? What would you have done?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, if I didn't get into hardwood floors, I'd probably be in jail. It's probably where I would have been. That's where I ended up, or not married. But if could do anything now, I would probably do, some type of house flipping or something where I could still use my hands, still see a benefit at the end of the day, but still make money. So
All right, Kim Walgren, editor and our commander, super allied commander in chief of Wood Floor Business Magazine, likes this question, so I'll throw it at you. You got carpet in that house, in your
I
house?
do, I do. I have 2 bedrooms that have carpet in the house.
Do we need to
So.
talk about this? Are there plans?
No, I
Will it
mean,
be going anywhere?
you and my wife could talk about it, but I got 8 grandkids. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm letting them, they're still, I still have them from newborn all the way to 10 years old. So, you know what I mean? The carpet's softer than wood. So if they're falling off bunk beds or anything else, I need the cushion for their noggin. So they're not, brain dead by the time they're 15.
All right, so then be honest. How many dogs you got in that house? How many?
I have 3 dogs in this house. Like I said, my wife's a collector, man. She loves them.
I have
So,
4.
oh, do you?
We
Your
have
wife
two.
a collector or are you a
No,
collector?
me. We had 2 Aussies that are the grand dogs the kids bring over every day. I have a little King Charles Spaniel we just kind of adopted through an emergency. I adore. And we had 2 Puggles, but one passed away.
Really?
And everybody in the neighborhood has, you name it, golden retrievers, yellow labs, Great Danes, and they all get together. The whole neighborhood. Everybody has a backyard big enough that's fenced in. They play, they run around. It's the greatest thing. I like the hardwood floors, so I specifically put hickory downstairs, so I can avoid the claw marks. Upstairs, the yellow birch took a little bit of a knock. Not bad. Pretty good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done with nightmare hickory jobs in the past, so I stay away from hickory. So
Ye-
I've seen that stuff buckle up like a trampoline on the floor. So yeah,
My house is all hickory, and it was beautiful until we got a pellet stove, and
you did
every
it correctly. Oh
single
yeah, and then it dried it all
veneer,
out.
and it's a veneer. Every single one is cracked and split.
Yeah,
Luckily, it's hickory because it kind of looks normal. But
I think the cracks look good. Yeah, I think the cracks kind of look. You know what I mean? I like that look.
but
So.
you just said it in the very beginning. My wife's like, "All right, floor expert guy, what are we gonna do about?" I don't know. I'm too
Yeah,
tired. I don't come home and do flooring.
I know. Go to Pinterest, figure it out. So
I know, right? Pinterest. Sorry for the folks at Pinterest, but we're not pleased with you.
they're not
Let,
sponsoring you, are they?
oh
So.
no. Well, listen, Lorie Davidson. That went fast. By the way. By the way, Lorie Davidson. I know a guy's named Carol and a boy named Sue. Is that English? What is?
It's a family name. I'm named after my great uncle Lorie, who owns Rose Island in the Bahamas. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe one day, he's like, hey, dude, you know what I mean? I know you had to deal with that name for a long time, so here's a little something.
Yeah,
But
come
no,
down to my
it's
island.
a
Sure, why not?
yeah, it's a family name. My middle name's Christopher. And people are like, why didn't you go by that? And I'm like, I've just always went by it. When I was a kid, I would, couple of fights with people, then we became best friends. And like I said, it's I'm a pretty big guy, so nobody really.
Aren't Southern people supposed to use their middle name? Isn't that the whole deal?
I don't.
Is that a myth? I hear that all the time.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that my mom was mad at my dad when she named me that because he was not there. He was drunk at a bar. So I'm pretty sure that she did that on purpose out of spite.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
it's been great talking with you. Floor guys can dust it up all day long, and hopefully I didn't talk over you too much, but you had a lot
Oh,
of great stuff
absolutely
to
not.
say. So thank you very much. Everybody look out for Lorie's articles in Wood Floor Business Magazine. You can find that stuff easily online. We really appreciate that. The submissions that you guys do help everybody. That's the big thing, Lorie, is there's guys out there that don't know all this stuff, and they listen. They might not have time to read. They'll put it on their headset while they're sanding and finishing, and they go back and they'll text me and go, hey, I heard Lorie, and I picked up some things from my business. So you're going to be real helpful to a lot of people.
Nice.
And listen, if you talk to Matt Garcia, keep pushing the treehouse thing. We got enough
Oh,
guys.
Matt's got the most incredible treehouse in the world.
I've been
Dude.
threatening
That
him for
thing
like a
is-
decade ago. We're going to get all these guys, and we're gonna do a wrap up show of all after the catch with Deadliest Catch in that damn treehouse. And every now and then he'll go, "Will you cut it out?" Somebody just called me and asked me about the treehouse again. I still think it's a brilliant idea.
Well, like I said, Matt's one of the great people too in this business. He always willing to help and
Ambassador,
super
yeah,
knowledgeable guy. So
sure.
love those guys.
Well,
So
listen,
they
I
they
thank you for
making my
taking
work
the
go
time
around.
for chat with me and everything, and hey, maybe we'll get to do this again if Kim's really nice to us. So I appreciate. All right, hey, thank you very much. We will talk again real soon.
Yes, sir. See you. Have a good
All
day.
right, take care.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of All Things Wood Floor. If you'd like to read the articles Stephen and Lorie talk about in this episode, or find the Real Masters Facebook group, you can find those links in the show notes for this episode.